Have you ever felt so trapped in your own mind that you knew you were the one holding yourself back, but you still couldn't stop panicking and so desperately wanting to stop, but you just couldn't? And like we're talking, you're annoyed with yourself. You're even saying out loud, okay, I'm annoying myself. Just stop. Yeah, it's a hard feeling to live in. And maybe for you, that feeling doesn't just show up in the hard moments. It seems to show up everywhere, and it bleeds into your faith. You open the Bible and feel nothing. You go through the motions of prayer and walk away feeling exactly as empty as when you started. You're showing up, technically, but something is off and you can't name what it is. Today, we are going to look at your faith routine and find out if it's actually working for you by holding it up to a defining moment in my faith life and the lesson I learned from a deer on a Christmas drive. I'm telling you, this one is going to hit. I'm going to cry. Sorry in advance. Grab something to write with. Let's go. Are you a mom who has been struggling in your faith but not sure why? Are you wanting to grow closer to God but not sure where to start? You're in the right place. Hi, I'm Ash, mom of 2, wife, and completely obsessed with Jesus. I grew up believing I was a good Christian until watching my child suffer led to my faith unraveling. It wasn't until 2 a.m. in my son's hospital bed that I went to God fully as myself that my faith transformed. If you are ready to have an authentic relationship with God and feel peace within your home, then grab that cozy blanket, open your Bible, and let's seek God together. Welcome to Faith-Filled Home. Life is pretty busy as a mom, but if you're looking for 5 minutes with God, then you're going to want to subscribe to the Faith-Filled Front Porch. It's a free weekly devotional tied directly to that week's episode, so the scripture we study together keeps living in your week long after you close the podcast. Just 5 minutes. Why don't you go subscribe right now at BeMightyMom.com/newsletter. So it was Christmas time. It was actually this past Christmas, and I was struggling, like really struggling. And I won't get into the details of why. I could, but that's not the point of this. We were driving around looking at Christmas decorations. Me, Mike, Maximus, and Finnegan. Finn needed a nap desperately, and we were hopeful he'd fall asleep in the car. And then he started crying. And it was the exhausted cry. Like if I just let him keep crying, he would fall asleep. Like I knew it. But Max was getting upset and screaming because his brother was crying and it was loud. And I was in the passenger seat just trying to hold it all together and failing. Mike's driving, trying to reassure me like he just needs to scream. He'll fall asleep. It's fine. And trying to calm down Maximus. And I'm just falling apart. I kept telling Mike, pull over, pull over, pull over. I needed to get my baby. I need to get my baby. If you have been there, you know that feeling. And he said if he pulled over, Finn wouldn't sleep. He was right. But when your mama heart just wants to help your crying baby, anything standing between you and that, it just adds to that trapped feeling. And I was already feeling completely stuck in my seat, stuck in my head. I was just stuck. And then we crossed a road and I saw him, a deer, and he was panicking. Panicking. I felt so bad for this deer. I'm going to cry about a deer. He was desperately trying to get to the other side of a fence. His antlers were pushing at it. And it was metal. It wasn't going to move. But the fence was not budging. He couldn't get through. And I wanted to jump out of the car and help him because it's just a few steps. If he just took a few steps, he would see that the fence ended and he could just walk around it. He wasn't actually trapped, but to that deer, he was. And the boys finally calmed down. Finn fell asleep, and Max was just looking at all the Christmas decorations. And I was sitting there crying about a deer, about to do it all over again. I kept saying I wanted to go back. I just wanted to help him. I wanted to make sure he was okay. I needed to make sure that he got to the other side. If I just got out of the car and showed him that he could go around, maybe he would see. I'm gonna cry about a freaking deer. Sorry. And then a female deer burst through the trees. And right behind her was the deer. Running, free, gone into the woods together, just like that. And I cried harder, but differently. Because I had just watched something desperate and frantic and convinced it was trapped run completely free. And I wanted that. I wanted that so badly. So I picked up my phone and I typed spiritual significance of deer because I was stuck, and that's where my psychotic brain takes me. And this was about 4 months after my hospital moment with Maximus, the moment I fully surrendered to God, or at least I thought I did. I started to surrender. It's not perfect, right? We're never perfect. I fully believed in God. I had faith. I believed. But I wasn't actively doing anything with it. No Bible, no prayer. I was keeping God at a distance out of fear. Like, this was a Sunday after church, and I went to church. I went to church every single Sunday with my kids. I was keeping God at a distance out of fear, and not the biblical fear, the misunderstanding fear, the kind that comes from a faith background that taught you closeness was dangerous. So I showed up. I went through the motions, I performed, and I wondered why I still felt empty. And then, after doing my search of spiritual meaning of a deer, I read Psalm 42, verse 1 to 2. I don't know if I'll get through this. Oh, as the deer pants for streams of water, so my soul pants for you, my God. My soul thirsts for God, for the living God. And I read it to myself, and then I had to read it out loud to Mike because he was driving, and he was calm. Like, the car was calm. Finn was asleep. Max was happy about Christmas lights. And I was falling apart over a deer. No one even knew that I was having this moment in my brain, in my soul, in my spirit. I was crying so hard because there was no doubt I had witnessed that deer because God wanted me to see it. I was crying so hard. There was no doubting I had witnessed that deer because God wanted me to see it. I thanked him. I thanked him for freeing me from my own mind. I was still unsure of how to really pray. So after that, I took the time to learn. And not because I thought prayer was like a genie granting wishes, right? Like I probably shouldn't joke about this, but I mean, like, people think of prayer like putting money in a vending machine. Like, if I put all these coins in here, I put E7, the Skittles are going to fall out. Like, that's not how prayer works. Because I wanted to always feel God's presence the way I felt it looking at a deer running to the woods. And after that, my faith life changed. So what was actually happening in that moment, and what might be happening for you? Well, let's take it through this. I wanted so badly to feel God in my life every day, but I didn't have a faith routine. I just went to church, which, yeah, you're like, but that is a faith routine. But it's not faith routine. A faith routine and a faith pursuit are not the same thing. Because a routine is the structure, right? The devotional, the worship playlist, the Sunday attendance, the morning quiet time if you're able to get it and your kids don't smell you the moment your eyes open. And here's what I want to say to you about that. Those things are not bad. I crave those. I love those. When I get those, I love it. Structure in your faith life is not the enemy. That's amazing. You have to build out your systems in your life to survive, especially in motherhood, right? Like, our lives aren't our own. They're just not. But a routine can live entirely on the outside of you. You can check every single box and feel nothing. You can do all the right things and still walk away empty. Because a routine is about what you do. A pursuit, that is about what you want. And those two things are not automatically the same. A pursuit is when something on the inside is actually reaching. It's when you open the Bible because you're desperate for what's in there, not because it's on your checklist. It's when prayer feels like reaching for something real instead of reciting something rehearsed. That's the difference. And when I read about that deer being so thirsty for water, that's how I felt towards God. Psalm 42 doesn't say the deer walked to the water on schedule. It says the deer pants. There's a longing to it, a desperation. The deer isn't being disciplined about hydration. It is dying of thirst and it needs water right now. That's the image God chose to describe what our souls should feel toward him. Not dutiful, desperate. Not routine, thirsty. But you have to build out a routine to create the faith pursuit in the life that you live. A lot of us were taught that the structure was the point. Show up to church, read the chapter, say the prayer, do the things. And if you do the things consistently enough, faith will happen, right? Seek and you will find. That is true. But what Psalm 42 tells us is that God is looking for something underneath the structure. He's looking for your thirst. And if the structure you've built isn't producing thirst, if it's just producing a sense of relief that you did the thing today, something needs to shift a little, because what you're after is a relationship with God. And if you're feeling hollow in your faith, this is why. Ask yourself, am I doing this because I want God or because I think I'm supposed to? You don't need to have the right answer right away. You don't need to have the thirst to figure it out yet. But beginning to look at that is the start of your faith pursuit. I wasn't distant from God because I was lazy. That is just not true. I wasn't distant because I didn't care. I was distant because getting close felt dangerous. I mean, if you look around, you can't see. You can't see. I have a bookshelf, okay, all over here, and it has just like devotionals and like Jesus and Bibles and prayer and these things. Like, it's so many things. I have all these things. I love them. I have my own that I send to you. But sometimes it's not a devotion that you need, because what you ultimately need is God. Now, a devotional is a great place to start. If you don't know where to start and you're like, I am struggling, well, then getting a devotional that says, here's devotions for the struggling mom. Perfect. That is what you need. That is what gets you to the point of a faith pursuit. But also finding the right things in your faith routine to build out the faith pursuit, to create the system in your life to make it possible for you to keep seeking God. Yeah. Because I'm going to tell you, my history with faith was very much built on fear and performance. It taught me that God was watching for what I did wrong. That closeness meant accountability. I wasn't ready for that. That if I got too close, he'd see things I didn't want seen. So I just did enough to feel like I was doing the right thing and kept just enough distance to feel safe. I went to church. I listened to the worship music. I listen to the same worship music because I love worship music, okay? And like now if you put on worship music, I'm going to sit there and sob. But before it wasn't like that. Like now I listen to worship music in a different way than I did before. And that's the thing. When you see it, when you feel the shift, everything changes. The devotionals feel different. Church feels different. The worship music feels different. And I would read, but back then I would read a verse or two when I felt guilty enough. And I called that faith because I opened my Bible. I read a verse. I read a chapter. I listened to the song. I went to church. I recited all the prayers. That felt like enough. But I was also feeling extraordinarily stuck in my life and unhappy. And I was at the fence, pushing against it, exhausting myself and wondering why I couldn't get through, feeling like a failure, wondering if I was not worthy. Wondering if I was not worthy of what was on the other side of that fence. And here's what I've learned. First off, God thinks we're worthy. Whether we think we are, whether other people think we are, doesn't matter. God sees us. And to him, we are worthy. When a faith hurt you, closeness feels a lot like a threat. Even when you desperately want what's on the other side of that fence. Even when you can see it and you know it's good. The body remembers the old version of God. The one that was demanding and disappointed and dangerous. And because of that, you don't feel like you're worthy enough to even be close to it. And your body protects you from getting close to that version again, even when you're trying to get close to a completely different version of God, the God of Scripture, the one true, real God. The deer wasn't failing. It was scared and pushing against the wrong part of the fence. It didn't need to try harder. It needed to move. And the same is true for you. If your faith routine feels like pushing against something that isn't budging, if you're exhausted from trying to feel something that isn't coming, it might not be that you're not faithful enough. It might be that fear has you pushing at the wrong spot. That is not a character flaw. That's a wound. And wounds need tending, not more effort. They need care. How do you do that, right? You name the fear. Just journal it out. Say it directly to God. He knows that you feel that way. Tell him you want to get close to him and you don't trust that closeness, but you want to see him and you want to feel his presence. You're not confessing failure. You're telling the truth. Truth that God already knows. Like he knows. He knows. He feels it too. That's why he keeps trying to freaking throw deer at your face. And you're like, oh my gosh. And the God of Psalm 42, he is the water. He is not the fence. He will meet you right there in that honest sentence to him every single time. The fence, that fence, it's us. We're pushing against ourselves. We're fighting ourselves. You don't have to know how to pray to start seeking God. There's no right or wrong way to pray. Yes, I teach frameworks. Yes, I teach people how to pray. But there's no right or wrong way to pray. And me saying like you should pray like that, I'm never going to say that. Like I'm just never going to say you have to say these words. Listen, prayer is not like a vending machine. Like I said, prayer is not inserting the $1.25 hoping you get Skittles and getting M&Ms instead. No, that is not how prayer works. Because if it did, what would that mean for faith? Right? If every time we put in $1.25 and we got the same thing from God and we're like, hey, yeah, let's bring Skittles. Skittles started raining from the sky. You'd be like, okay, cool. Like, man, I didn't think I'd get this deep, but here we go. The ultimate goal is spiritual healing. When God talks about healing, when Jesus talks about healing, it's spiritual healing. And the prayers that we pray, that God is looking at that and he has a plan. He has a will, right? And it's our obedience, right? We have to walk with him and trust in him. That is faith. And praying at him and demanding things and saying, well, I have enough faith, I should be given this. That's not what God says. It's not what God says. I'm going to say that because that has been something that has been deeply hurt within me and my soul and my situation and destroyed my relationship with God. Yet here I am because I didn't need to see complete healing to see God. I didn't need to see that. And that's where a lot of us get stuck. You don't have to know how to pray to start seeking because you're here. You're here. You believe. You wouldn't be here if you didn't believe. I believe that. You wouldn't have made it this far. Me talking about a deer wanting water. You would not have made it this far into this episode if you did not already believe. But your belief isn't the problem, right? It's your faith. And you have to have both belief and trust to have faith. After that car ride, I knew I wanted more of what I felt, that presence. That moment where something cracked open in me and I knew God was with me. He was there. He had put that deer in my path on purpose. I wanted to feel that again. I wanted to live inside of that forever. But I didn't know how to pray. Not really, anyways. I'd been taught prayer, right? Like, now I lay me down to sleep. I pray the Lord my soul to keep, that type thing. But I had never been taught prayer as relationship. I had been taught prayer as a performance, or at least that's what I witnessed. So when I sat down to actually seek God, I didn't know what to do. I didn't know, like, do I fold my hands? Do I do this? Do I lift my arms up? Like, what do I do? I didn't know. Do I have to sit a certain way? Do I have to say the right words? Like, how do I greet you? How do I end it? I didn't know. I didn't know if what I was saying was right. And that almost stopped me from trying. But I decided to learn. And not because prayer was a formula, not because it was something I needed to master, because I wanted to feel that presence again. And I was willing to be awkward and uncertain, which I'm already awkward all the time, and I'm uncertain most of the time anyways, and completely unpolished in the pursuit of it. biblically, what does prayer mean? How did they pray? And like, let me tell you, the Bible has some doozies in there, okay? Like lament. Nobody ever taught me about lament. I actually had to Google, how do you say lament? Because I didn't know how to say it. Seeking doesn't require experience. I just said, I went to Google because I didn't know, because it just requires your willingness. And here's the thing. You already have that thirst, or you wouldn't be here. You wouldn't be listening to this. You wouldn't have made it this far in this episode, right? We talk about deer being thirsty. That thirst in you is not a problem to solve. It is a symptom. Be with me. Hold on. It is a symptom of how broken you are. And I mean that in the best way possible. What? You just call me broken. How could that be possible? Because if my faith did not break, I wouldn't be where I am today with God. That is an invitation. And it is God saying to you, I'm here and I want to be found. And you are closer than you think. You don't have to have the right words or know the right order or have a formula or even use a framework. And I know I teach those, but it's to the people who ask, right? You don't need to. He doesn't score. He just shows up for it. And if you don't know where to start, like I always say, just one honest sentence. How do you feel right now? Say it to God. How do you feel about God? Say it. Say it. Say it. That is prayer. That is prayer. He already knows it. Just go to him with it. That's seeking. That's more than enough. And if you want a framework to help with this, I do have the Be Mighty in Prayer framework. So it's at BeMightyMom.com/how to pray. Literally how to pray. I also have a couple of printables that I'll link in the show notes that I have for myself on days when it's getting kind of crazy and I need to say something and the kids are all running around. I never really stop praying though. I'm just always in conversation with God. And that's really where I want you to go. That is where I want you to go. I want you to be in relationship with God. I want you to talk to him every single second of your life. I never want you to stop talking to him. Ever. The routine was never the destination. The routine is just the road. And if the road you're on isn't taking you anywhere, if you're going through the motions and coming up empty, it's not because you're not trying hard enough, because you are. It's because you're trying harder on the wrong road that just takes you further from where you're trying to go. You were made to thirst for this. The God who put that deer in my path on a chaotic drive looking at Christmas lights is the same God who put this episode in your ear right now. He is not waiting for you to earn your way back to him. He's already at the water waiting for you. He's on the other side of the fence. You are not as trapped as you feel. I want to leave you with something before the episode ends. That deer on the Christmas drive, he didn't get free because he figured it out, right? He got free because something called to him from the other side. And he turned toward it. He stopped pushing against the thing that wasn't working, and he ran toward the voice that was. That's available to you right now. Not after you have the right routine, not after you heal enough to feel worthy of closeness. Right now. In whatever season that you're in, with whatever version of faith you are currently holding and living under. You can turn toward the voice that's calling. And even if you just sit here and realize, whoa, this actually is not working for me, I need to do something different, you're seeking. That's the deer lifting its head and moving toward the water. That's it. You are getting there. And I am so proud of you. Check the show notes. I'm going to link a bunch of stuff in there for you. So let's keep going together in healing with God.
Hi, goodbye.
I hope this episode helped you feel closer to God and recharged in your faith. I pray it validated and healed you in ways you didn't think were possible. If it did, would you share this episode with another mom who needs it? It would mean the world to me too if you would leave a review. Talk to you soon, friend. Now, go be mighty, Mom.